and welcome to Badger Speaks, the Herb Cup edition, as we get ready for one of the more exciting Herb Cups that we will ever see. And boy, what a round what it was as we go over the weekend review with the Commissioner. How are you doing, Commissioner?
I'm doing great, man.
So let's get it started with one of the more blowout games that we will see in the Herb Cup in history. Boss Hog against Extremely Explicit. And this game I said would be won in the trenches. The tight end, the defense, and the kicker. And in week one, that was the show. 43 points to 6. Boss Hog won that battle. Extremely Explicit, they won the running backs and they won the wide receivers. But Patrick Mahomes needed to be better in week one.
Mm-hmm. You don't usually see a team where they have great performances from their top 5 players and they get beat pretty badly.
Yeah. That was a 110 to 90 point win. Boss Hog won the week. I thought Extremely Explicit would come back. I think there is definitely a lot of people in the SFL that thought Extremely Explicit was going to come back. And Boss Hog, they just laid down brick in week 14. What a performance by Sean. One of the best performances of his young career.
Yeah, that is I believe the highest score ever in a playoff match.
Yep.
So great couple weeks from Sean, and wow, he's won the Herb Cup.
And Mike Gesicki, the MVP of this one. The final score, 242 to 207. What a week it was by Boss Hog as he goes to his second Herb Cup. Extremely Explicit eliminated for the first time in their history in the first round. So yeah, that's a pretty good stat. And now the game of the year, in my opinion. One of the most exciting games I've ever seen in my lifetime. Alabama Do-Si-Do and Suburban Icon. I said this is going to be the game of the year, and boy, what did it live up to the hype. What a performance by Darren Waller in week one. 32 points.
He just went crazy.
And he beat Travis Kelce by 13 points. And Kelce had a huge performance as well. 19 points. You could not ask for much more from Travis Kelce. Tyreek Hill had 2 bad touchdowns taken back. He caught one, and the other one got called back for a holding. Suburban Icon won that week by 5 points. But we knew this thing was going to be a battle. And Suburban Icon showed up and showed out in week 2. Derrick Henry, the guy he traded for Dalvin Cook, and he showed up big time. 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it came down to Sunday night, and boy, was it a show. Steelers defense against Deontay Johnson and his third start in his NFL career. And he drops 2 passes early in the game and gets benched for the first half. That's some Ronald Jones type shit right there.
I really don't think we've seen many players get benched, especially on this stage.
And this thing was over. I thought Steelers defense was going to hold on and Deontay Johnson wasn't going to come back.
The Steelers got off to a good start, too. 2 turnovers. I think they had 14 points at one point.
Yep. And Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen for Buffalo turned it on, and Steelers defense dropped. And here comes Deontay Johnson back into the game after his 2 early drops. And he actually had some big catches in this one for Suburban against the Steelers, who started just dropping down the toilet. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs showed up and showed out late in that game, and Suburban Icon was in reach of that 4th Herb Cup.
Yeah, I knew Deontay would probably need, at least 5 points, 4 points. He ended up getting 4. And I knew, Steelers just going to have to keep crawling back.
And Steelers ended up crawling so far back that Suburban Icon took a 1-point lead and held it on for dear life. Suburban Icon going to their 4th Herb Cup. 222, 221. Darren Waller, the MVP. Also, Steelers didn't do that well in this one. Only 9 points total. And now we got the Dairy Bowl. Weeki Wachee, the number 6 seed, going against the Devil Dogs, the number 5 seed. I had Weeki Wachee winning, and they stepped on the throats of the Devil Dogs. Aaron Rodgers, David Montgomery, you couldn't say that again, and Davante Adams, they were huge. Davante Adams is just a legend in Weeki Wachee history.
I know Nate was hoping for a earlier peak to the season, getting to the playoffs, but he's got to be happy with just completely exploding in the Dairy Bowl.
And he wanted to be the highest scoring team in the playoffs. He wasn't quite there. He lost by a point to Boss Hog, but he was very happy with this performance. J.K. Dobbins starts 2 games as well and puts up good performances for Weeki Wachee. 241 points to 174. Actually, 178. Sorry, I must have been the stat correction. I don't really know what happened. But Weeki Wachee wins the Dairy Bowl. The Devil Dogs have the Dairy Dip for the 2nd straight season. Wow, that is tough. But now we look at the teams that now went into the abyss. Extremely Explicit, the number 1 seed. This is the 2nd straight year the number 1 seed has gone into the abyss. How do you feel about Extremely Explicit performance in the playoffs?
They definitely had a great team this year. Disappointing performance in the playoffs. Obviously, they went against a huge performer in Boss Hogg. I think things are looking up though. Cam Akers looks like he's getting going in this late stretch. That could be a huge boost next season. And then we got the Do-Si-Do. Just a heartbreaking finish. Pretty much summarizes their kind of the season. They had so many of those games that just didn't go their way. They got to be happy with this though. They work together so well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see them working together again next year.
And this is the best teams I've seen Noah and Alex and Ryan put together in their history of their career. And Wiki Wachi won the Dairy Bowl. He's very happy with his performance. The Devil Dogs, we haven't talked to him since he's lost, but unfortunately, he's going to go after the Dairy Dip again. Now we look at one of the more exciting Herb Cups that we're going to see in the history of the SFL. Boss Hogg, the 2018 Herb Cup champion, going up against Suburban Icon, the 2019 Herb Cup champion. Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, both got traded. Both have been doing great this year. And now we look at Boss Hogg's side of things. Where do you think Boss Hogg is going to win this Herb Cup? How does he do it?
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's got to keep his trenches going too, because he's been great there. Defenses, he's been great at picking those tight ends. Awesome. Because obviously he's weak at tight end usually.
Yep.
And Gesicki's hurt, but he's been good at picking them. So if he can continue that, that'll be great. But Josh Allen, he's been really good. He had a good performance against the Steelers, who are a tough defense. If he can just dominate Kyler Murray, that would be huge for Boss Hogg.
And now we look at Icon. He was the number one team for most of the season, and he just played one of the craziest games in the history of the SFL. He's got to do it one more time. How does Icon win this thing?
He's got to dominate with his big players. We saw like Noah had a much. You would look and you say superior team as far as the top 5 roster, the running backs, the receivers. That's what Icon has to dominate. He has to dominate the running backs. Aaron Jones has to step up. Kyler Murray has to compete with Josh Allen, possibly get back to his early season self.
And in my opinion, one of the big parts of this matchup are injuries. Christian McCaffrey for Suburban Icon, and we look at Boss Hogg. He have tons of injuries. You got Ronald Jones now out. DeAndre Swift just came back. You got Eckler. You got all sorts of other guy. Mostert's another guy. Gesicki another guy. If Boss Hogg can stay healthy, they can go on to win the Herb Cup. As we now do, we're going to talk to Clay after the play of Week 13 and Week 14 for the round 1.
2nd and 7. Big running lane, and Jones takes off into the secondary, and now sprinting down the sideline. Wiggles past McLeod, and he's all the way to the end zone.
And welcome back to Badger Speaks as we now talk to the owner and one of the competitors competing in the Herb Cup. We talked to the 3-time champ. How you doing, Clay?
I'm doing freaking great, baby.
So, you just got out of one of the craziest games in SL history against the Alabama Do-Si-Do. 222-221. A lot of stats happened, but that was the closest match in the history of the playoffs. How do you feel about the match?
I don't know how I always find myself in these close matches. It feels like everyone in SL history has involved me in some way. And I'm just thankful. I've come out on top on a lot of these. I knew it was going to be a close match. I was hoping Christian would show up. That didn't happen. So I knew it was really going to be close. Man, it was just a grind. I mean, it was just like I would have some great plays. Derrick Henry, touchdown. And then you just see Tyreek 40-yard touchdown. It was just kind of like you expect that to happen almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 o'clock, I mean, I should have finished the match right there. I think I had like a 30-point lead. And Aaron Jones, Terry, and Darren Waller just didn't get the job done. They really blew a shit.
So, Deontay Johnson comes onto the field and drops 2 straight passes, and he gets benched. The Steelers' defense is going off. Did you think your season was over at that point?
I prepared for it. Yeah, I kind of accepted, all right, this isn't it. Well, Alex in the Herb Cup. You know, I tried to mentally get myself, be okay with losing, but I wasn't okay with losing. I was just praying he would come back a half. Well, it was actually after the first quarter. I'm like, well, maybe it's just for a quarter, and then he came out. Then every possession, you're just hoping, and then I'm like, okay, has to be a half. And he comes out, runs out, and catches the ball.
He caught a ball.
Gotta say, that was a loud clap. I was really happy to see him catch a ball.
So, you've been part of some close matches in the history of the postseason. You played Extremely Explicit in 2017, and that was, in my opinion, I don't even know what the game of the year is, because the next one, in my opinion, was the game of the century with Wiki Wachi in 2019 Herb Cup, and you just played a crazy game here. Rank them 1 through 3. What was the craziest games in your history, from your standpoint?
That's interesting. That's tough. I would say the Aaron Jones one in 2019, of course, was awesome. But I'm going to say Noah's was actually number 1. because in that one I fully gave up, and we'd actually ended up tracking the other league. I thought I was down too much. I don't know. We just saw a bunch of Matt Bryant field goals, and somehow I ended up on top. That was crazy. So that's number 1. Herb Cup number 2, and this is a first rounder, but this is a great match. This is number 3.
Wow, this one number 3. And you can't say that without them. 1 point playoff game. It could have gone either way. And I had it projected between 1.2, just give him a little hype to batter himself. But you play Boss Hog, the 2018 champion. You were the 2019 champion. Now you guys square off. He beat you in 2018. You beat him in 2019. And now we're coming in game, set, match. How do you feel about that team over there in Boss Hog?
Obviously, I have respect for Sean. He's a good owner. He's been successful in his career, and somehow every break seems to go his way. But this one's not going his way. That's all I got to say.
Do you expect Extremely Splits to win that matchup?
Yeah, I think we all just assumed. It's kind of like Lakers-Clippers. We just kind of assumed they would converge eventually. But, you can't underestimate Sean's team. He does have some good players, and they're peaking at the right time.
Mm-hmm. And they just put up 200. Yeah, they're peaking right at the perfect time here for the postseason. Who's a better team, Alabama Do-Si-Do or Boss Hog?
Oh, Alabama Do-Si-Do. I feel like that was pretty much the championship in my mind. That's not to underestimate Boss Hog. I just thought it was so tough going against Travis Kelce. That's probably the best tight end, possibly in SFL history. I don't know. He just had some great players.
He's honestly a top 5 receiver.
Yeah,
he's that good.
He might be a first rounder next year. I think he's a better opponent, but that's not to underestimate Sean. I know Sean's going to come out with a lot of lucky breaks, probably some defensive touchdowns, the usual Sean stuff. But I'm just going to have to grind through it. We're going to need some good players to do some good things.
And Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, the story of the match, in my opinion. You traded for Derrick Henry, and he finally had a big week in the playoffs. Do you expect Derrick Henry to lay loads on Dalvin Cook?
Oh, yeah, he's going to shit out a brick right on Dalvin's head. I'm surprised Dalvin keeps coming back. He's got hurt pretty much in the last 5 games. But Derrick Henry finally did what I thought he would. He got game scripted out of that first round, or the first week. And then he had a huge week last week, and there's no reason he can't do that again.
Yeah, especially against 2 great opponents coming up. Last question. This is your 4th Herb Cup. If you can bring home a title for the Last Dance for Smiley Giles and Suburban, sending them off into the sunset, what would that mean to you?
That'd be awesome. I mean, we got obviously Smiley got his ring. That was the goal. And then to get 2 would be something a little different. That would be awesome.
Thank you for joining us here, Clay, as we get ready for the predictions for the Herb Cup. Stay tuned. And now we're going to do Badger Predicts for the Herb Cup, the big matchup. This one should be worth every single point I've had so far. I'm 25-14 on the year after going 2-1 in the first round. And now we look at the Herb Cup. I'm so excited for this one. Boss Hog against Suburban Icon, the 4 against the 2. It was actually the 4 against the 2 last season as well. This is actually kind of cool. But Suburban Icon is going to have to win this thing, like the commissioner said, with his big name players, Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones. Those guys are going to have to dominate both the running backs, not only Dalvin Cook, but Austin Eckler and Swift as well. Also, a big part of this matchup is the Bucs players. They have great matchups. Mike Evans, Godwin, and Gronk are going to have to start for some big games here. They play Atlanta and Detroit. It all comes down, in my opinion, to Christian McCaffrey. Will he play or will he not play? I have him playing week 16, but not week 15, and that gives Icon the edge. But this could go either way. If Christian McCaffrey does not play week 16 or 15, Boss Hog could have this thing. And we're going to see how they win this thing in the trenches, not only at tight end, because I believe Darren Waller is going to dominate. They're going to have to win the defenses big time, because Suburban Icon has Rams defense, the #1 defense, not only for week 1, they have Ravens for week 2 as well. This is going to be fun, but I do have the 4-time champion, Suburban Icon, winning this thing. 236-219, Derrick Henry becomes the Herb Cup MVP. And thank you guys for a great season that we've had. We're going to do one more episode after the Herb Cup. We're going to do bloopers. We're going to do G League standings. We're going to talk to the champion, and we're going to go over what's going to happen in the 2021 offseason. Let's get it.